Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Lagos, there lived a young woman named Amara. She was a beautiful and confident woman in her late 20s. Amara had a job in a big company, but she wasn't satisfied with her life. Her heart longed for something more, something grand. Amara had heard the stories of successful women who married powerful men, especially CEOs. These women lived in big houses, drove luxury cars, and traveled to exotic places. Amara dreamed of that life. But she didn't just want to marry any man. She wanted a CEO, a man who could provide everything she desired. One evening, as Amara walked out of her office building, she overheard a conversation. Two women were talking excitedly about the CEO of a major tech company called Stellar Innovations. His name was Mr. Tunde, and he was known not just for his intelligence and success but also for his good looks. He was the perfect catch, and Amara's heart raced as she listened. "I heard he's single," one woman said. "Really?" The other replied. "He's so busy running his company. I wonder if he even has time for love. Maybe you should try to get his attention." The first woman laughed. Amara stood still, her mind spinning. This was it. If she could get Mr. Tunde to notice her, everything would change. She would be the woman who married a CEO, and her life would be full of luxury. The next day, Amara decided to put her plan into action. She had seen Mr. Tunde's company building several times, and it was only a short drive from her office. She dressed in a simple yet elegant outfit, made sure her hair was perfectly styled, and applied a touch of makeup to enhance her natural beauty. She had to look professional yet approachable. When she arrived at the company's office, Amara stood tall and walked in confidently. She asked to speak with Mr. Tunde, but the receptionist informed her that he was in a meeting. "I can wait," Amara said with a smile, her heart beating fast. An hour passed, and Amara was starting to feel nervous. She had no plan for what to say. She didn't want to seem desperate, but she was determined. Finally, a young man came out of the meeting room, and Amara took her chance. "Excuse me, sir," she said, walking up to him. "Are you Mr. Tunde?" The man smiled and nodded. "Yes, I am." Amara's heart skipped a beat. "I've heard so much about you. I admire your work, and I wanted to tell you how much I respect your achievements." Amara. Mr. Tunde's face softened. "Thank you, Amara. That's kind of you to say. What do you do?" Amara smiled. "I work in marketing, but I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a few ideas I think could really help your company grow." Mr. Tunde raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "That's interesting. Why don't we have a coffee and talk more about it?" Amara's plan was working. She couldn't believe it. She had managed to get his attention. They sat down at a nearby cafe, and Amara spoke about her ideas, listening carefully to his thoughts and opinions. Over time, they met a few more times, discussing business and personal matters. Amara quickly realized that Mr. Tunde was more than just a successful businessman. He was kind, thoughtful, and genuinely cared about the people around him. As the weeks went by, Amara began to fall for him, but she also realized something important. She had not just fallen for his wealth or status. She had fallen for the man himself. Mr. Tunde wasn't the perfect, distant figure she had imagined. He was someone who valued hard work, kindness, and loyalty. He had built his empire not just with intelligence but with humility. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Mr. Tunde invited Amara to his apartment. He looked at her with a serious expression and said, "Amara, I've enjoyed getting to know you, but I need to ask, what is it you really want from me?" Amara hesitated for a moment. The dream of marrying a CEO had brought her here, but now she realized it was something deeper. "I don't just want to marry a CEO," she said. "I want to build a life with someone who cares for me, someone I can trust and respect." Mr. Tunde smiled and took her hand. "Then maybe we can build that life together." And so, Amara's dream came true. Not because she had snatched a CEO to be her husband, but because she had found a man who was worthy of her heart, and who had found a woman who valued him for who he truly was. They married, not in the grand, extravagant way Amara had once imagined, but in a simple, beautiful ceremony that reflected the love they had built together. Amara and Mr. Tunde's marriage was nothing like what she had once imagined. It wasn't filled with endless parties or flashy events. Instead, it was grounded in love, trust, and the quiet moments they shared together. Their bond grew stronger each day as they built a life based on respect, understanding, and hard work. Amara was content, happier than she had ever been. But as time passed, something began to stir within Mr. Tunde. He became more distant. Their late-night conversations started to disappear, replaced by long hours at work and the pressure of running his growing empire. Amara noticed the change but didn't say anything at first. She knew the demands of his job, and she was patient, understanding. However, one evening, as she was organizing their home, Amara came across something unexpected. It was a letter, addressed to Mr. Tunde, but it was half hidden under a stack of papers on his desk. The envelope was plain, with no return address. Her heart raced as she opened it. The letter inside was short but troubling. "I know what you did, and I won't stop until everyone knows the truth. You can't hide forever." Amara's hands trembled as she read the words over and over. What truth? What was he hiding? The following days were filled with unease. Mr. Tunde was working late again, and Amara couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. She confronted him one night after he returned home late, his eyes tired and his face drawn. "Tunde, what is this?" she asked, holding the letter up. His expression faltered. For the first time since they had been together, Amara saw fear in his eyes. "Amara, he paused, his voice faltering. "There's something I should have told you before we got married. Something I thought I could bury." Amara's heart sank. "What is it?" He took a deep breath and sat down, running a hand through his hair. "Years ago, before I started Stellar Innovations, I was involved in something illegal. I wasn't always the man you think I am. I made deals with the wrong people I shouldn't have trusted. I thought I could get away with it, but now it's come back to haunt me." Amara felt the weight of his words pressing down on her. "What do you mean, it's come back to haunt you?" "That letter," he said. "It's from someone who knows about my past, someone I thought I had left behind. They're threatening to ruin everything I've built, expose my darkest secrets." Amara's mind raced. The man she had fallen in love with wasn't the flawless CEO she had imagined. He was flawed just like everyone else. And now their happiness was under threat. "Who is this person?" she asked, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "I don't know. But they're dangerous, Amara. I thought they were out of my life for good, but they found me." Tunde's voice was filled with regret. "I never wanted this for you. I never wanted you to find out this way." Amara stared at him for a long moment, the weight of the decision ahead of her hanging heavy in the air. She could walk away. She could leave him and take the safe route, the path she had once dreamed of. A life without secrets, a life free from the shadows of his past. But something inside her told her that this man, the man she loved, deserved a chance to make things right. They had built something real together, and she wasn't willing to give up on it just yet. "I'm not going anywhere," she said quietly. "We'll face this together." Tunde looked at her, a mix of surprise and relief in his eyes. "Amara, I don't deserve you." "Maybe not," she replied, "but we're in this together now." For the next few weeks, Amara and Tunde worked tirelessly to uncover who was behind the letter. They dug through old files, contacted people from his past, and used all of Tunde's resources to track down the mysterious figure threatening their happiness. Then one day Amara received a call. It was from someone claiming to have information about the person behind the threats. The voice on the other end was cold and distant, a voice Amara didn't recognize. "If you want to save your husband's reputation, you'll meet me tonight," the voice said before hanging up. Amara's heart pounded in her chest. She shared the news with Tunde, who was immediately concerned. "Don't go alone," he warned. "It could be a trap." But Amara was determined. She knew they couldn't wait any longer. That night, she drove to the address given by the mysterious caller, her mind racing with every possibility. When she arrived, She was led to an old, abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Lagos. The air was thick with tension, and the silence seemed almost suffocating. She stepped inside, her eyes scanning the dimly lit space. And then, from the shadows, a figure emerged. It was a woman. "Amara," the woman said, her voice smooth and dangerous. "I've been waiting for you." Amara took a step back, her pulse quickening. "Who are you?" The woman smirked. "I'm someone who has been watching your husband for a long time. And now it's time for you to make a choice. You can walk away and live in peace. Or you can help him face the consequences of his actions." Amara's mind swirled. This was the moment where everything could change. She had come here to protect the man she loved, but now she had to decide how far she was willing to go. "I'm not afraid of you," Amara said, her voice firm. The woman's eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that." Just as the tension reached its peak, Amara's phone rang. It was Tunde, his voice desperate. "Amara, don't do it. It's a trap," he shouted. But before she could respond, the woman lunged forward, and everything went dark. Amara's vision blurred as darkness enveloped her. She felt a sharp pain in her head, and everything around her spun. She tried to move, but her body felt heavy, unresponsive. Her heart raced with fear, but she knew she couldn't give up, not now. Not after everything. Her last memory was hearing Tunde's voice, desperate and pleading. Then silence. When Amara finally regained consciousness, she found herself in an unfamiliar place. Cold, dimly lit, and sterile. She was tied to a chair, and her head ached fiercely. Panic set in, but she forced herself to stay calm. "Where am I?" The woman's voice echoed through the room, sending a chill down her spine. "I told you, Amara. It's too late to turn back now." Amara struggled against the ropes, trying to free herself, but they were tight. "What do you want from me?" she demanded, her voice shaking but strong. The woman appeared in front of her, her smile almost mocking. "I want to make sure your husband pays for what he did. He betrayed me once, and now I'm going to take everything from him." Amara's heart skipped a beat. "Who are you?" she asked again, the confusion rising in her chest. "What's your connection to him?" The woman's smile faded as she stepped closer, her eyes cold. "I was once a business partner of Tunde's. We started Stellar Innovations together, but he betrayed me for power. He took everything I built and left me behind. He thought I would fade away, but I've been planning my revenge for years. And now you're part of it." Amara's mind raced. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Tunde, the man she loved, had betrayed someone this badly. He hadn't mentioned anything like this. But then the truth hit her. Everyone has a past, even Tunde. The woman continued. "I've watched you. I knew you were the perfect bait to get to him. You fell for him, didn't you? You thought he was perfect, but he's just like every other man, selfish and greedy." Amara's heart thudded painfully in her chest. She wasn't sure if the woman was telling the truth, but something inside her snapped. She wasn't going to let this woman manipulate her. She wasn't going to let Tunde's mistakes tear her apart. "I won't help you," Amara said, her voice filled with resolve. "You can't force me to choose between the man I love and your twisted revenge." The woman's face twisted in anger. "You'll regret that decision." Amara's mind raced, thinking of a way out. She couldn't let this woman win. But just as the woman turned to leave, Amara heard a familiar voice, Tunde's voice, calling from the hallway. "Amara." Tunde's voice was filled with panic. "Amara, where are you?" The woman froze, her expression darkening. "So he's here. I'll deal with him first," she said, turning away. But before she could take another step, Amara did the only thing she could think of. She lunged forward, using her body weight to knock over the chair. She screamed, hoping to draw Tunde's attention. Her chair fell to the ground with a loud crash. Tunde's voice grew closer, and then in the next instant, the door burst open. He rushed inside, his eyes wild with worry as he saw Amara on the floor. "Amara, thank God." He immediately rushed to her, cutting the ropes with a sharp knife he had pulled from his jacket. The woman, seeing her plans unravel, lunged toward them, but Tunde was quicker. He grabbed a metal rod from the floor and swung it with all his strength. The woman staggered back, clearly startled by his sudden fury. "Stay away from my wife," Tunde shouted, his voice filled with a mix of anger and fear. Amara's heart raced as Tunde pulled her into his arms. "Are you okay? Did she hurt you?" Amara shook her head, still in shock from everything that had happened. "I'm fine," she whispered, holding on to him tightly. Tunde turned to the woman, his expression darkening. "It's over. You won't hurt anyone anymore." The woman, realizing she was defeated, let out a bitter laugh. "You think it's over? You've lost everything. You'll never escape your past. You'll always have enemies." Tunde's eyes flashed with anger, but he said nothing more. Instead, he reached for his phone and called the authorities, ensuring that the woman would be arrested for her crimes. As the woman was led away in handcuffs, Tunde turned back to Amara. He knelt in front of her, taking her hands in his. "Amara, I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to get caught up in this. I should have told you the truth, but I was afraid you'd leave me." Amara looked into his eyes, seeing the regret and the vulnerability there. "I didn't marry you for the perfect man, Tunde. I married you because I believed in who you could become. We all have a past, but it doesn't define who we are now." Tunde's eyes softened, and he kissed her forehead gently. "You've always been my strength, Amara. I'll never hide anything from you again. You deserve the truth." And with that, Amara and Tunde knew their love had weathered its biggest storm. The road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but they had each other. They had learned that the past could be faced, that mistakes could be forgiven, and that together they could overcome anything.